I've just finished watching Joshua Dubois and oh my god, that was a shock. Like, I was not expecting that. I mean, to give myself credit, I did get the prediction right. I thought Dubois would stop him, but I thought it would be like the last 6 rounds. I was nearly right. I think it was round 5, isn't it, that AJ eventually went. But I mean, that was a shock. No one's finished AJ like that before. AJ just didn't look right from round 1. Everyone was saying, how's Dubois going to handle the pressure? We should have been worried about AJ this whole time. Dubois is famously an underthinker. When he loses, he fights the next fight the exact same way. He doesn't let this shit get to him. He doesn't overthink. Like, that there is Dubois' office. He goes in there, he's at home. He's a fighter. It's what he does. AJ is an overthinker. And it proved he has not lost the demons from the Ruiz fight. I mean, I'm just in shock. Like, I did not expect that to go that way. I mean, the quote that comes to mind is, when you win, you're not as good as you think you are. And when you lose, you're not as bad as you think you are. AJ's confidence would have been sky high. But, as I said in the preview, as Shane McGuigan said, Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou was stylistically perfect, tailor-made for Anthony Joshua. Wallin didn't have the power to trouble Joshua, so he could do whatever he wanted in there. Ngannou was a sloppy, come-forward power puncher. Joshua could easily counter him. He'd been what? He hadn't been many rounds. He hadn't actually been all that active in the last year, had he? Oh, I think it was it was 7 or 8 with Hellenius, where he looked tentative until the knockout kind of just came. It was 5 with Otto Wallin, nothing was coming back, and it was 2 with Ngannou. He hadn't actually been all that active. Whereas you look at Daniel Dubois, I've been saying this in the preview, I always thought that Big Baby Miller is a problem. He's that big and he comes forward. He's a tough fight. People just dislike him because of his drug problem. But if you look at his fighting, he's a good fighter. He just beat Andy Ruiz. And Filip Hrgović as well. Great fighter. So I thought Dubois was in a better form. But, I don't want to big myself up too much because honestly, I really thought that AJ would find the range and counter Dubois in the first 6 rounds. And I thought if he didn't get him out in the first 6 rounds, Dubois' gas tank would kick him and he'd finish him. Honestly, I thought maybe he'd finish him on his feet, a bit like with Big Baby Miller. I thought AJ's hands would just go low and Dubois would just kind of keep throwing punches until the ref had to step in. But to get knocked out in that fashion, I mean, it changes the whole boxing landscape, doesn't it? And I mean, Ben Davidson, I think he deserves a bit of criticism. Like, he gets a lot of credit, but you have to ask what's he actually done. Like, take Lee Wood, for example. Yes, he's got some good wins, but if you look closer into the fights, he's had a lot of trouble. Look at Lee Wood's fight against Mickey Conlon. He was losing 90% of that fight. Just the last 10 seconds, he had the power to stop him, and Conlon didn't quite have the endurance to, Conlon was just exhausted. And the same with Josh Warrington, right? He was losing nearly every round of that fight, but, his power got him out of there. So I think Ben Davidson deserves a little bit of criticism. And Don Charles, on the other hand, deserves all the credit in the world because he's been saying this. I was reading it in Boxing News. He's been saying Don Charles knew AJ and they had the plan to knock him out. And Don Charles knew. He knew all this time that AJ could get knocked out. And I mean, I'm just in shock. Like, that was a bad knockout. AJ got knocked out cold, I remember Chris Eubanks Sr. talking that boxing, at some point in your career, you're going to have to take the punishment, If you enjoy beating people up, one day you're going to have to be beaten up yourself, And we saw that, isn't it? We saw the way AJ finished Ngannou, and now look, he's been finished in a similar fashion. I mean, it's a brutal sport, boxing, but I mean, all credit to Dubois, He didn't let the pressure get to him. He had a solid game plan, and I thought the first few rounds would be Dubois' weakness. Hrgović landed so many right hands on him in that first round, but he came out, he was so composed, he stuck to his game plan. He wobbled AJ in the first 10 seconds, like, that's crazy. First 10 seconds? Honestly, I'm just in shock, like, everyone said AJ was going to win. And I thought Dubois would win. I thought he would get him in the last 6 rounds, but I was very torn myself. I was very close to, you know, swaying with the rest of the boxing population and saying, yeah, I think AJ wins in the first 6 rounds, but I'm in shock. Like, yeah, I was shaking. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. But I mean, look, huge credit to Dubois and Frank Warren. Like Frank Warren. I mean, Eddie. He's in his pocket, isn't he? Like, Frank won the 5v5. Eddie Hearn, his biggest fighter, has just lost to not even Warren's main man. Like, yeah, honestly, that was a crazy night of boxing. You know, the landscape has just completely turned on his head. The undercard was good as well. Like, Hamza Shiraz, I'm on the Hamza Shiraz train now. That man is a problem. Honestly, put him in there with Canelo. Like, I think he's a problem. Boazzi as well, showed grit to get past Hutchinson. I mean, what a night of boxing, but AJ getting knocked out like that. Yeah, I mean, I'll do a more detailed reaction later, but I just thought I'd get my immediate reaction out because, wow. God, can't believe it. And I want to give myself a bit of credit. I did call it. My last video, Dubois will cause a huge upset. People, as I said, people write off Miller because he's a drug teach, but he's a really good fighter. Same with Hrgovic. He was a tough bloke. And Volin and Ngannou were stylistically perfect for AJ and showed us nothing. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. But what a night of boxing. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.